This is way more comfy than last time.
Yeah, we're good now. You want to pop off the show with a ginger shot?
What is in here?
It's carrots, ginger, a little bit of lime, coconut water. My ginger girl.
It's for my ginger.
Let's try it.
Okay.
Let's see.
Can we just take a minute to look at these little containers, though?
Marshall's find. Nice little Marshall's find.
Okay,
oh yeah, everybody, we're actually on a couch together. Sorry, our last episode didn't have some great audio or we were virtual. So we just didn't get the same energy as we do in person.
It's only up from here, and we are building like our own custom set. So in the meantime, we're just taking it to Cozy Corner, and that's how we feel the most comfortable.
Be careful, because you might get a little on the top there.
I have to sniff it first.
Go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
This is a big shot, though.
Well, we're not gonna take it. No, we're just gonna sip.
I'm a little out of my league.
No, we're just gonna.
In my day, I used to be able to take it.
It's a light work.
Right to the noggin.
All right, girlfriend.
Okay,
let's
cheers. Cheers. What are we cheersing to?
We are cheersing to being together on our comfy couch while recording.
Yep.
We are cheersing to the full moon.
It is a full moon today.
As we are recording this, it's July 10th. So
and cycle syncing.
We'll
get into that later.
Yep. Cheers.
Okay, let's go. Ooh, I'm gonna gleek. You know what gleeking is? I know
Gleeker?
Somebody out there knows what gleeking is.
What's gleeking? You just gotta be careful, because on the rim, gotta lick the rim. No.
So gleeking is where like your salivary
starting off with a bang.
Glands are so activated that you can like press your tongue back and it shoots spit out.
Oh, I have heard. I didn't know that was the name for it though. That's called gleeking.
Yeah, I used to be able to gleek on demand, but yeah, then I'm past 40 and my body is slowly. No, I am full of vitality, so we're fine.
Age is just a number.
We're fine. Thank you for that. That was a treat.
Did you like it? I mean, it's like it's one of those things where like you can't really like love it, but it's a nice.
Good.
I
feel like it would make a good base for like a homemade dressing, like a ginger. You have to make me some dressings.
I do. Well, now that I got my juicer, I had a really good juicer.
Is the juicer the same as the ice cream maker, or you got a juicer too?
A juicer too.
I thought when you were talking about the juicer, I was wondering. So you got like a Big Daddy?
Yeah, it's like you don't have to just put like one thing at a time. It's kind of like a blender, but it's a juicer. So you put everything in there, and then it juices up.
Watermelon juice, but not.
I can do that
because we don't eat seedless watermelons.
We don't. And we don't.
I do. Yeah, I'm taking baby steps with this lifestyle because in my mind, once you know better, you do better. I also have not been happy with the quality of the seedless watermelon. So it just hasn't had as much flavor. So I'm ready for some flavor. And I'm willing to test taste. Maybe we should do every episode and we can have a custom juice for that episode. And you bring it and we try it and we can cheers to different things each week. So this week it's full moon energy. It's cycle syncing. We'll wait to get into that a little bit. And just being here together finally in our own physical proximity to have the conversations, because that is our natural element of just, feeling comfortable together. So I'm really glad that we're here because virtual just was not it.
No.
But thank you for everybody that listened, because we actually got a lot of people reached out.
Really good feedback.
Right? Just a lot of people I was nodding my head. It's like what we're doing right now, the whole episode, because a lot of it's just extremely relatable, and there's a lot of different angles that people are experiencing similar things, right?
Yeah, especially with just the collective energy going on right now in the world. I feel like there's a lot of people who are just feeling defeated. They're feeling like they're not being fulfilled. There's a lot of just anguish in what's going on right now in our country and around the world, and just a lot of dense energy. So I think that while everything is going on, I think it's also still important to still shine your light and understand what fulfills you, because we can't change everything that's going on, first of all. And although that there is so much, we can always say there's so much negative going on, to be grateful and to be appreciative of the things that we have, the friendships that we have, the people in our lives, the things that we're able to do, even our health. I wake up in the morning now and I just thank my organs for keeping me alive.
Right.
Thank you, heart, for beating. Yeah. just what you have, because there's
Yeah.
always going to be someone who has it worse than you, as we know, and we're not going to be perfect at all times, of
Yeah.
course, but just being grateful. So I'm super
Yes.
grateful for everybody out there who's been listening and who trusted us to, just and took the time out of their day to just
Mhm.
watch us for those 30 minutes and listen to
Yeah.
what we have to say.
Yep.
So just thank you from the bottom of our hearts,
That's
seriously.
right. And we want this to be like you're right on the couch with us. So we're having a conversation with you. And part of what you just said there around like the collective energy being very dense right now, it's important, like especially in our conversations. We are not here to bypass what's going on, but we're also here to create new messages that allow you to tune in to something different.
Mhm.
Because certainly we are
Yeah.
inundated with all kinds of messages and news and things that really activate us on the level of humanity. There's a lot of pain and suffering. And there's also a lot of people talking about that pain and
Yes.
suffering. So when we zoom out a little bit and then zoom back into our day-to-day life is our opportunity to say, okay, let me check in with myself. How is all of that impacting me? There's some days, like you said, when you wake up and you're trying to get to this place of gratitude and remembering that like how you're operating within right here and now in your life is the opportunity to imprint a different energy back into the collective connection that we all have. That perspective is really helpful for me when there's some days where I'm like, why am I feeling this way? Like I think our brains love to try to find a reason for whatever funk we might be in or something feels dense in our energy and in our day, but there might not be anything in particular that you can relate it back to. A lot of times that's where I lift my head up and look back to what's going on collectively. What are we absorbing? What's going on in that bigger picture?
And I think just so that everybody is able to kind of understand the difference between, I think you put it in a really nice way, the dense energy and kind of just what that means, and then what's the lighter energy that you
Expanded state.
expanded state.
So I always love to use the example of water, right? We'll use nature things a lot because it's just reflecting back to us always. And the Gina approach will always be rooted in nature, which is really important because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm really feeling like disconnected from myself and the world around me, when I get back into nature, it feels like the only real thing. Like it
Mhm.
feels like the definition of reality. So I recommend that you do that if you're feeling overwhelmed and also like just be. Like it's the one place where it can be judgment free. But when we look at to nature and we look at water as the example of constricted state or density versus expandedness, we can draw parallels into our emotions. So when you look at water in its most constricted condensed state, you have a big block of ice and it's very obviously compact and it's cold and there doesn't feel like there's a lot of life in that, right? It's very hardened. But the other states of water, going from obviously its liquid state into all the way expanded in vapor, it's the same exact ingredients, it's the same exact things. They're just able to take up space differently. So when we think about emotions in that way, it's all part of nature. Like this isn't saying that there's an issue with ice or being in that state. It means that it's part of it. And to acknowledge it says to catch yourself when like, okay, anger's been hanging around too long,
Mhm.
jealousy, whatever the emotions are that keep you feeling like this. And if you tune in when you're in those, you'll feel this. That's a constricted state. That doesn't label it as good or bad. And that's really important to not get too hung up in these labels for ourselves because self-judgment can creep in really quick. And then before you know it, you're stuck in it even longer. And when you're in expanded state, when you're in that vapor state, it's like love, peace, expansiveness. You'll know when you're in that zone and it can just help give a barometer for where you're at.
And that's why I love like understanding everything in nature, right? Because you can always it always goes back to like the fundamentals of things. And I love that you use the dense and the expanded, because I've always said good and bad,
Mhm.
right? And reality is there's really no good and bad energy. There's good feelings, right? And there's bad feelings that we've accumulated and are able to like notice, okay, that feels bad for me. But the reality is that there's really no bad energy. It's just it's the feeling and how we've
Yeah.
interpreted it, right?
Mhm.
We're in this physical state that says bad, right?
Yeah.
It's tied to that emotion.
When it hangs around too long is when it can create like a dysfunctional byproduct.
Mhm.
right? So if we're keeping ourselves in that constricted state, and you said something really important there around like, the good and bad around a bad feeling, a good feeling. Bad feelings, air quotes around constricted feelings, do serve a purpose.
Mhm.
There are information. It is part of the process. And if you're bypassing those and pretending that everything is love and light and there's none of this other stuff, that's just as dangerous, in my opinion, as hanging around in the density for too long because it's bypassing reality, because that other state is part of reality as well. So we get to decide and can ask ourselves that question, like, is it serving me anymore? Versus, is this bad for me now?
Right.
Is this serving me anymore? Can I get out of my own way with this? And if you're having a tough time, because it's not like a light switch, right? Okay, I'm going to stop feeling angry now. I'm just going to go into my expanded state. That's when I always look to environmental. So getting outdoors, getting to something, into a place that's already vibrating higher from that energy perspective can really help. Like, talk about the first domino, right? Or like when you don't have something to plug into and you need to go create it. Some of these spaces are created for us, and nature is really what points to those places that are best for us.
Yeah, and we just went on we go on our nature walks, and I mean, it just immediately kind of
Yeah.
just is able to, like, balance us back out, right? Like, we're around all these trees, we're around all these animals, we're around, just like the natural way of things.
Mhm.
Because when we're in our day to day, I mean, if you're living on a cul-de-sac, if you're living, in the city, there's always
Mhm.
noise, there's always cars, there's always fumes, there's always this, there's always that. So it's a constant stimulation.
Yeah.
When you're able to just go in nature and just be, and that's like our safe space, just being, right? Like, nothing matters but the here and now. And then you get to hear the birds, you get to see the butterflies, you get to just literally be. Going back to your point on kind of the energy within us and how when we're constricted in that way, that is also how we create that disease, right? Disease is a dis-ease. And when that energy is stuck and we're not able to go through it and have it pass through our body, as in the water cubes, right? Like, think of it as you have an ice cube sitting in your gut and you're not able to allow it to flow through your body. So that gut feeling of or whatever emotion you want to put on it, right? Sadness. I mean, even if you let sadness in there too long, it's gonna eventually accumulate.
So, like, how do you work through that? Right. I think there's a lot of conversations on like processing emotion. And I feel like a big part of that conversation and that feeling inside of us is first acknowledging that you're in that state. Like, you're witnessing it. Like, I witnessed that I'm in anger right now. I can feel that this is at play in my body. It's when we're trying to push that feeling down and we're just like maybe shaming ourselves in some way that that we're agitated or that we shouldn't be in that state and we want to be in this other place, that feeling doesn't have a place to go. That's where it gets stored and accumulated. And the body keeps the score in that regard. So next thing you know, it's like my energy can't rebound. I don't have the energy to do things. And part of the conversation around what does it mean to just be, I want to stick with that for a little bit because like you mentioned, we're plugged into a lot.
Yeah.
There is a lot in our day-to-day life that needs to be done. There are a lot of people who need us. There's a lot of people counting on us. There's our relationship with ourself. There's a relationship with our environments, our food, our exercise. Like, there's so many things. It's never ending, right? And when we talk about just being, it means settling so deeply. And we'll go back to like when you're out on a nature walk, that is a place where nobody needs you in that moment. And if they do, it's like seriously, right? There's emergencies, but reality is most of the noise that we feel is too loud in our lives is something that could be temporarily muted.
Yes.
And that's a practice so when you're walking and if your mind is still in that place of, oh my God, I wonder if I have like 3 missed calls, or oh my God, right after this, I need to go, then you're bypassing nature.
Yep.
Right. You can't actually get into that state of being.
And those ice cubes are still accumulating.
Yeah.
And I think that that is one of the most valuable lessons that I have learned for myself, is actually sitting with those feelings when they come up, because there's a reason why they're coming up, whether it's environmental, whether it's something from childhood or something from my family, trauma, whatever that is. But I used to just immediately go to, well, that can wait. I got to work. Work is priority right now. So, like, I'll deal with that later. And guess what? Later never happens, because it just continues to accumulate. And then you never set time to be like, oh, at least I didn't, especially when, like, before all of my spiritual awakenings and becoming a business owner. I mean, even when I started as a business owner, I never set time for myself to be like, let's do a check-in. Let's do like just a regular health check-in to see what emotions came up for me today, to see what what I'm feeling right now, to see like where the heaviness is in my body. I never did that. And the fact that I do that now is like, I can't see myself not doing it because I know when something, my body knows now when something is right. It always has, but now it's even amplified because it's like, hey, you know what you're doing. You're not going to ignore me anymore. So like pay attention. And I think giving yourself those regular check-ins of even just being like, what's sitting with me right now? Like I texted Lauren about something that came up when I did the fashion show the other day, and I didn't even realize that it was really sitting with me. And sometimes those things don't happen until another thing maybe comes up. But I wasn't just going to bypass it. I said, "Hey, this was like coming up for me and I don't know how to deal with it." And it's one of those things that, and it wasn't with her. It was like another situation, but
Better not be. Yes.
but it came up for me. And I said, hey, this actually was really bothering me. And I didn't realize that it was bothering me because when I first heard it, I kind of like pushed it off. I'm not perfect. I still get into that phase and but it came up again when, last night when we were talking and I said, hey, I just got to put this out there because I'm recognizing it's coming up and help me like transmute this. Like, how do we go about that? So,
Yeah, that noticing is the definition of awareness.
yep.
So awareness is, I always like to weave in terms that I feel like are thrown around a lot. And I haven't found a lot of places where I feel like they're broken down in a practical sense. Awareness is rooted in noticing, which we talked about on the last episode. And so in that moment, what I felt from you in that was, wow, I didn't realize I was holding that and maybe how heavy it was, right? So the compound effect can happen with situations. It's like the pinch theory of conflict, right? A little pinch, no big deal. Another little pinch, no big deal.
Hmm.
You do like 5 or 6 more of those. And if there's a similar thread or theme or person or someone that's coming from, that sixth one can be like the one where you're like, wait a minute here. There's a pattern and I'm holding this in my body. And like you mentioned, if there's things from our distant past that also maybe sat and have been sitting dormant because perhaps, during those heavy years of survival, we weren't, nor did we necessarily have spaces that were safe sometimes to unpack that stuff in a way that even feels like we're being heard. So when you kind of stumble into the potential place in your life where you're feeling safe and maybe you finally do kind of have some good support systems around you, that can create a catalyst for all that stuff to come up to be
Mm,
healed. When stuff comes up to be healed, it can feel way bigger than the one little thing that activated that sequence. And that is part of the process.
absolutely. And just for context, it was a comment about me being a bigger girl. Okay. And it came from somebody that I'm very close to. And I think what that did for me was it triggered that childhood Gina of like being bullied and being outcasted and having those feelings come back up. And that's okay. But it's like now I have a support system and people who actually understand this side of life when those do come up, like it needs to be validated and now I have somebody who I can talk to be like, hey, this is coming up for me and help me with it, help me go through it, what can I do? So that's kind of the dynamic of the situation, but it definitely sure did hit. And um I just like I'm so proud of myself for recognizing that. And especially if you are anything like me and my family dynamic, we I grew up not in a place where that really happened. So it was always like, grew up with a single mom. It was she went job to job to job and, she never focused on any emotions and like you couldn't grieve, you couldn't feel sad, you couldn't feel mad, you just had to do. And so I'm escaping that place and now I'm climbing out of it as well and I'm able to help myself in that scenario so that I can continue breaking that so that my children don't have to deal with
That's
the
right.
pushing it down,
Yeah.
right? Which is
Yep.
better for each generation and that's
Yeah. Generational healing is, I feel like it's kind of one of those things that is like a snowball that's kind of rolling down the hill. And I feel in every family line, somewhere within the family line, there's usually like the generation that really unearths it and catches it and says, this snowball has gotten too big and we need to stop pretending that we're
Mhm.
not all like stuck underneath it. And so when you talk about like escaping, sometimes that's what it can feel like. And when we're kind of pushed out on the other side of that and we realize we want something different for ourselves and to carry forth in a different way, it requires new tools. And something that I really appreciated and is really important to me in relationships, in our relationship too, is like in my past, I would, because of circumstances from my childhood and the way that I took that energy and carried it forth into hypervigilance, there was a stage in my life where
Mm.
I felt like I needed to solve everything for everybody. And I had an opinion on everything. We all have opinions on everything. But I realized I was giving away a lot of energy thinking about how I thought somebody else should do something or what I felt was best for them. And that became a distraction for me. And over time, I learned that, like, that state of observation on how other people are living is also a way to kind of conserve some of your own energy as well. And back to what I really appreciated in you sharing that with me yesterday was it's important for me to know how I can best support you. Because I think what we can do as caring people in this world is sometimes like think we're helping, but maybe sometimes it's not actually what the person needs. And so as individuals, it's our responsibility to think about what do I really need right now? Like sometimes I just might need somebody to listen. Sometimes I could use some advice. Sometimes I might need somebody to give me a kick in the pants and
Yep.
say like, is it me? Like do I need to adjust my filters on this? And our ability to communicate what we need in that moment, it doesn't mean that somebody can give that to us. It just means we've given them information on how to show up best for us in that relationship. And I have found after that, post escapism into the new way, that that's really important.
Yeah. And I think this kind of goes right into our topic of making your own way when we talk about being the first one, right, to do things. And from our last episode, I know that we said we wanted to kind of delve into that. But as we're talking about family dynamic and breaking those generational curses and traumas and all those things that come with it, I don't know if you've ever felt like this, but in my family, sometimes I feel like since I am the first one to break it, everybody else is still in their old patterns. So, like, being out on the outside and being like, all right, you guys are just not seeing the whole picture there. And I've had conversations with people in my family who I'm just like, man, they just don't get it, man. Like they're just not at the same. I don't want to like, I'm not speaking of I'm at a higher level, but like as far as the growth,
Yeah.
the personal growth and like being able to see whole situational things, because a lot of that constricted energy is only being able to see your perspective.
Totally.
So I'm able to expand and actually look objectively at the situation and say, okay, well, somebody could be feeling like this because of, I see how they could be feeling like this, or they might be feeling this way because of something that this person said, rather than just, no, you said it was green. So, I'm mad that you said it was green. It's like, and sometimes I just get so like wrapped in the like, man, you guys are just not doing the work. And it's like, how do you like find that dynamic with like being able to tell somebody about the situation and then also being there and helping them like kind of grow?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that everybody listening in one way or another has experienced a piece of this. And I certainly know I have. And I feel like what you just described is like the definition of the black sheep of the family,
Mm.
which I have been called before. And I actually now kind of see that as a compliment. I think that kind of takes a bad rap. But in its core, I think what we're dealing with is, maybe one person escaped a dynamic or a pattern or recognized it, was able to shift that for themselves. And a lot of the other people haven't.
Yeah.
So now what's happening is that we're listening to two different radio stations. And it's going to actually feel like two different languages, right? Because it's really about resonance and frequency. So if you're speaking from a place where you see and feel and can get to that objective perspective and kind of zoom out a little bit from the situation, understand where the wisdom might live in it, and somebody else is still very much in the pattern and the dynamic that is contributing to suffering on some level, then any type of inbound information, perspective, advice that isn't in that place of chaos will come across as judgment, most
Mhm.
likely. And I realized that over time, that sometimes settling into the core belief of, you know what, everything has its timing. And I need to be very mindful of where I'm putting my energy and my intention. And that doesn't, what can happen, particularly in family dynamics where maybe one person is outgrowing things. And let's be real, like I know for me now as 40 with kids of my own, and I really had to be very aware of where I needed to shift out of like parent child dynamic in the family. And even like with my siblings, we're all grown adults now. And like we have a chance to decide like what does the family dynamic and unit look like moving forward. So I feel like there's almost like this tipping point of realization of that dynamic's been outgrown. And some people haven't outgrown it.
Yeah. And so, that my grandma passed away last week. And so I feel like when situations like this happen, right? You have a death in the family. People come out of the woodwork, right? And they think that they want to take ownership of things. They want to put their 2 cents in. There's all these flooding emotions, and whether people are doing it, I don't think they're doing it with malice, but it's a lot of that surfacing emotion comes up because it's people not a lot of people don't deal with their stuff. So when it comes up, it comes out and it projects in whatever the situation is.
Mhm.
So whether it's a material thing that I need to have because it's mine and I bought it for them and I need to take it back, or whether it's okay, well, I want to make sure that I'm getting this, I'm entitled to this, whatever that is coming from. Like it's been swirling around, and for me, I see it so differently now. Like I'm just not a material person, I've never been, but when I see things happen like this, and when I have a dynamic in the family where we did just go through a loss, and that's the first thing that people are talking about, I can really see that reliance on the material aspect for a lot of people, and that they need those material things to make them happy or feel connected, right? So like I don't know. I just think I see things a little bit differently now, especially with going through all of this energy and spiritual healing.
Yeah. I think that that ties in nicely to our last conversation in many ways. The first way that it does is continued conversation of creating this new space,
Yeah.
right? Like it doesn't exist. When you're climbing out of something, whether it be a family dynamic, a job, anything, and you're the one to go first, to me, this is where awakening lives. It's, I can't unsee these truths that are presenting. And I also know that I'm going to have to potentially show up radically different in some way. And I don't know what that way is yet. Right.
Yeah.
And grief, and on our next episode, I want to go deeper into your story on losing your grandma and then
The
the birth
insane.
of your nephew on the same day and the
Crazy.
remote viewing. We have a lot in store for the next episode, but I really feel like, and we're trying to keep these episodes around 30 minutes. We want you to be able to tune in, really kind of climb out of whatever you might be dealing with, gain some new perspective, and also feel like you're right in the conversation with us. So I know that there isn't anybody that's probably not dealing with some family dynamic stuff. So also like reach out to us if you want to hear or see different topics and perspectives, because what we're experiencing is a lot of people are reaching out with things that they're going through and topics that they want us to go deeper on. So we can always infuse that in. But
Absolutely.
until next time, where we go deeper into that story.
But
Cheers!
but I also want to say, as we end this, I'm gonna give the peace sign, because if anybody watches America's Got Talent, Simon Cowell always gives the peace sign, or if you get a double thumbs up,
Double
that's
thumbs.
like for real, man. Like
Double
you got a
thumbs.
good audition.
Double thumbs.
So we're just gonna do peace sign, and we're doing double thumbs
Oh.
when we are checking out.